To have positive self-image is such a radical thing right now. And it's often dismissed as pompous, arrogant, all of that.
If there's anything in your life right now that you're using as a crutch, that means there is a weakness there that you need to address, because people only use crutches when there's a place of weakness.
And that's what I was about to say. And if you don't know what your crutch is, stop doing something and see if you can walk. Stop doing something and see if you can survive.
Hello and welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Renee.
And I'm Courtney, and we are your online big sisters and hosts of the To My Sisters podcast.
Now, we are all about promoting the wellness, growth and development of a community of sisters across the world.
And in today's conversation, we are going to be talking about self-image.
Yes.
This was actually a topic requested by one of the sisters, and we thought it would be interesting to talk about, as it really is the first step in building confidence and really stepping into that main character energy. Right? So we're going to talk about how do you redefine who you are, reshape how you see yourself, and start to romanticize your life.
Yes.
I'm really excited for this one because I've actually taken this week to really deal with this. So I'm ready to share everything I've been learning.
Courtney's got some gems in the back for y'all.
Oversharing as always. Anyways, before we get into that, we have a ding, ding, ding.
Dilemma.
There we go. So let's get into it. Hi.
Hey.
I am 23 years old and I am from France.
Hey, bonjour, ma chérie. Comment ça va?
Ça va bien, merci.
Oh, tu parles français?
Let's leave it. Let's leave it. Okay, cool. Shout out to France. Shout out to our French listeners.
We love you.
We love you, sisters.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Baguettes and that. Bone apple teeth.
What did you say?
I said bone apple teeth. We've been to Paris before. Yeah, we should definitely go again. But anyways, I am 23 years old and I am from France. I have a lot of trouble with letting go of the feeling that I am not good enough and that I will never be good enough for anyone. Since I was a child, I have been told by my family that I was not pretty, my eyes and nose were too big, and more. Every characteristic of my appearance was never good looking to them. It made me very insecure. Meanwhile, I thought that I did the necessary work to be happy with myself. But 4 years ago, I started dating and all the boys were not really interested in me and compared me with other girls and made me feel like I wasn't pretty or good enough. My last dating experience broke something in me. I dated a guy for months, and when he came to see me in my city, he saw my sister, who is pretty, and started complimenting her and then asked me if she was single. This made me even more insecure about my looks and also about my personality. Since then, I can't believe that someone would ever be interested in me for real. And I feel like all the work I did to invalidate my family's opinion about me is being undone, as their words always come back to me. I've had to talk to my family about this many times, but they invalidate and minimize my feelings and experiences. What should I do?
Bloody hell.
This is a serious dilemma and very relatable problem.
You need to call the police on your family.
Oh
to be
my
quite
gosh.
honest with you. No.
Sometimes
in the UK we have something called the Metropolitan Police Force. You can call them. You can also absolutely. You can call them. You can also send in like a form. There's also social media. So if you at them, okay, let me stop. But this is a sticky one because you're dealing with multiple things here, right? So you're dealing with, your family dynamics and the whole invalidation of your experiences. Then you're dealing with how this has been transposed onto the dating landscape and like how you've been navigating having relationships with men that you don't think desire you. So there's layers to this. I think let's first deal with your self-image, your self-worth and all of that jazz, because you did comment on the fact that you've been doing some work, sis, and that's good. That's really encouraging to hear. I'm not really sure from your dilemma, what exactly the extent of that work has been. But I definitely think that this is probably not something you can deal with alone. I think maybe invest in therapy. And this is actually not me. Like, if you can, this is not me just pushing therapy and stuff like that. But I do think that having a problem like this, that's so like all encompassing, will need some kind of professional help to help you unlearn, since these are persistent thoughts as well. So I would say consider therapy if you haven't already been. And then in terms of like how effective your tools and like the practical ways in which you've been dealing with your self-image, what does that actually look like, right? Has it been, just affirmations and all of that jazz? Because in your dilemma, you mentioned that you've had over the past 4 years, I believe.
Yes.
relationships with men that you feel don't desire you or find you pretty.
Yeah.
I don't know if these are relationships or dating experiences.
She just says dating.
Dating, right. Dating is hard, first of all.
Real talk.
Dating is very difficult. And I think it's something that we covered very briefly in our daddy issues episode, but also in episodes before where we've talked about desirability, in that if people don't actually find you attractive or desire you, that's actually not a reflection on your self-worth.
Yes.
Okay. It doesn't mean that you're not pretty or not desirable. It means they just don't desire you, and that's okay.
You're not their type.
I do think that there's something there, because if it's a persistent cycle where you're encountering people that you don't think like you, I think we do need to do some work internally and understand, because this will sound harsh, but I don't mean it in a harsh way. The common denominator is you. So what are the characteristics, or what are the key things that you're seeing in these particular men that keep on cropping up, that you keep on picking them? Yeah. And oftentimes it's due to the fact that we've experienced trauma at home, which is why I'm happy that you included your family dynamic, because I think that's actually fed into the way that you've been going about dating and all of that. Dealing with the whole sister situation, and this guy has come to see you in the city and you've been dating for months, and he had the audacity to ask
the effrontery,
audacity to ask if your sister is single. Let that one go. That man is for the streets.
Oh yeah.
He's for the streets. In fact, he's for the highway. Rats on the highway. Woo. Rats on the highway. Let that man go. He's for the highway. The motorway.
Word.
So I wouldn't feel any type of way of letting that man go. And also, how have you been conducting your dating? Has it been online dating? Has it been in-person dating? Have you been have friends introduced you?
Yeah.
I would take a stab and guess that it's potentially online dating or social media, purely because you've said he came to visit you from his city, or it's been a dating experience that's mostly online and not as much in person. So I would encourage you as much as possible to go on dates that involve you being in around people.
Yeah.
Ask your friends if there's anyone that they can set you up with. I know that's forward, but I think it's better to be proactive about dating than to just kind of sit back and hope for the best. Because when you sit back and hope for the best, then you often just go to your go-tos, or you you don't realize it, but you're actually re-perpetuating all of the things that you thought you had dealt with in the dating scene. So definitely be more proactive about cultivating friendships that, may potentially lead to those kind of dates. So that's what I'd say towards that.
I like that.
And dealing with the family situation, sis, that's tough. And I would like to believe that your family doesn't mean it out of, the fact that they despise you. A lot of people don't realize, and I found that with some of my family members, but Courtney, I would definitely love to hear what you have to say once I've had my piece. It's definitely something that I've dealt with, where I've had family members that may say something that's a bit derogatory or rude about the way.
Yeah.
Dave's not the dark arts.
What else can we attribute it to?
So there may be some family members that are that witchcraft has actually thrown me off. Connie, I'm so done with you.
Derogatory terms.
A lot of people, and this is not for you to extend them too much grace and stuff like that, but a lot of people will say things and not realize just how much of an impact it has on other people. So they may say, those aunties that will say, oh, you're looking a bit large, or you're looking a bit slim.
Yeah.
They think it's because they actually want to help you, but the way they've delivered it has actually contributed to a whole wealth of insecurities that will plague you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Some people get lost in translation, and the fact that they've kind of invalidated your experiences by saying, oh, I can imagine them saying it's not that deep. They probably didn't realize or think that their comments are, and it's often the feature stuff as well, right? I definitely resonate with the whole the nose thing, or your facial features is a bit off somehow. And it's if I was petty, I would be well, runs in the family, runs in the family. So respectfully,
it's in your blood.
And you guys know one of my favorite rebuttals is your son is in jail. I'm not sure if
if your brother is in prison.
Any of your family members are in prison, but metering out that same energy. It's tight because you can only have conversations expressing your feelings. It can only go so far. And if they're unwilling to do the work to actually be okay, cool. Like, I would say raise it up with them again. And if it's a thing where it's like they're actively not really seeing how much it's affecting you, definitely pursue therapy. And you can't be responsible for somebody's behavior. Even if it's your family, you can't be responsible for somebody else's behavior towards you.
So good.
But yeah, Miss Courtney, I would love to know what you have to say.
I think you've hit everything. You've actually hit everything. I think this is such a great dilemma. It's not a great dilemma. This is such a fitting dilemma for this episode. Our self-image really is wrapped in what people tell us. Yeah. Oftentimes. Yeah. And if you associate, I have a big nose, I have big eyes, and I have been told that is ugly all my life, you're going to believe you're ugly. And I think that's the first thing you have to do. You have to start unlearning what you have been told to associate with who you are. The word's ugly, you have to disassociate yourself from that word. And it only comes by you redefining what other people have put definitions to. And I think that's one of the key things even about self-image. You have to now start making your own definitions. You now need to start making your own connections between your features, your face, your body, with different language. You literally need to start redefining yourself. I think the other issue is you can only talk so much with your parents and try to make them see how much they've hurt you. And if they don't want to acknowledge it, sometimes it can even be more hurtful to hear that they don't actually think they've hurt you than even the original pain. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I would say in kind of an attempt to self-preserve, like you said, talking to somebody else rather than going to seek out closure or understanding or even an apology may be more productive in your healing process than talking it out with them, because they cannot see their errors in their ways. And that's their own personal journey that they're on. Okay, as for the men, I think you need to start expanding your dating pool. I think what's common thread here is you're not your type's type. The people you are attracted to are not attracted to you. I don't know who these people are, but you may need to start expanding your dating pool. This is not to say date people you are not attracted to, but you need to find somewhere where you're appreciated. That's it. If you are noticing, like you said, the common denominator is you. If you are dating people who are routinely telling you, I'm not attracted to you, you just have to keep trying till you find someone who's like, you are drop dead gorgeous. Like, you are not just my type, but I want you. That's it. Yeah. And that's what every woman mostly wants to hear from, the person that they are attracted to, or people, if they desire romantic love. You just want to hear, I want you, you know? Yeah. You need to go where you're appreciated. And that may involve kissing some frogs. But you have to really start expanding your dating pool, whether that be dating outside of your city, which it seems like you're already doing, or dating a different type of person, a different race of man, a different age of man, whatever that may be. You need to start expanding your dating pool to more people that you could possibly be attracted to. In terms of, like you said, this man who said your sister is she single whilst he's dating you, he's actually for the highway. He's not for you, and that's fine. But I can imagine the pain that is caused by somebody causing an insecurity you've had pretty much for your whole life to resurface through one comment. Yeah. Yeah. And that is the most painful thing, because like you said, it feels like it's undoing all the work that you have done. But you've done that work before, you can do it again. I think that's one of the biggest things that we have to kind of remind ourselves of. I've picked myself up before. I have to just start that process of doing it again, so that this doesn't faze me anymore. Your sister, like you said, she's pretty. There are many pretty women in the world. It doesn't mean she's necessarily prettier than you. It means for him, she's more his type. She's prettier than you for him, but there's no objective scale of attractiveness. And I think you need to go and find somebody who will be like, okay, but I choose you. Again. So it just comes to, again, finding and attaining more dating experience. I feel like I kind of feel hopeless sometimes giving that advice of just keep dating around, but that's literally all it is. You'll heal from this. It will take time, but you will heal from this.
You will do it.
I think for our family members, and I love what you said about it's not giving people an excuse, but some things can get lost in translation and not everything is helpful. I think a lot of cultures have different every culture has a beauty standard.
Yeah.
And if you do not fit that beauty standard, it can often be emphasized as, in order to help improve your life chances and your life's quality, we need to point out these things to you so that you can change. I don't know if they were expecting you to go and get a nose job or like an eyelid surgery, but that was not constructive. And if it is something that you are insecure about, you have to do the work to start learning to love it. I think a lot of us have insecurities based off of the fact, I can give a personal example. When I have a younger sister, and we grew up together, and my sister is absolutely beautiful, stunning. She's considerably lighter than me. We have the same parents, but she's light. I am chocolate melanated dark skin, right? We are two ends of a spectrum. And growing up, first of all, people found it very hard to believe that we were even siblings, despite the fact we pretty much have the same face.
Yeah, literally.
We're just two different shapes.
You guys look exactly the same.
People were like, how is that your sister? Number one. And also, we come from a culture where to be light skinned is to be more attractive. So growing up, it was constantly she was praised for her hue. She was told she's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just like,
Not...
Yeah. And I was told I was beautiful 100%, but I think I've told this story on the podcast before. The thing that the facial feature that I was often complimented on was my slim nose, because I have a slimmer nose than her. Again, Europeanizing beauty standards. Growing up, it was a huge insecurity for me being dark skinned. But I had to learn that it was a flaw in their mentality, and I had to redefine myself, and I had to set a new beauty standard for me. Yeah. And it wasn't necessarily that, okay, now I'm going to say that being dark skinned is top tier and now my sister's the ugly one. No, we are beautiful in different ways, but I cannot be made to feel like I am less valuable and less worthy of love than she is, because we do not look the same, because I also don't look like anybody else. And so you have to really start realizing all these words, all these things that I was told when I was younger, they're lies. And that's why I keep emphasizing, some people are ops in your life, and you literally just have to conclude it there. What you said did not help me a single bit.
Child.
And I can't take notice of it anymore. Me having a big nose, it's actually not ugly. And I'm now going to move forward from that point of truth. I have a big nose and I think it's beautiful. Moving on. Getting to that point where you feel like it's actually beautiful is the work.
Yeah.
That's the work.
Yeah.
And it comes with decolonizing beauty standards, or having to really do the deep internal work of repairing your self-image. And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode.
Fantastic segue.
But sister, we pray that this whole episode is the answer to your dilemma. But we really pray that this episode blesses you, and that you begin to see your beauty. Yeah. Because even without seeing you, we can attest to the fact that you are beautiful, however you look. But in saying that, Renee,
yes,
what is self-image?
Self-image. Oh, I'm really excited about this topic, Courtney. It really is something that's close to me.
Shout out to the sis that requested it. Yeah. It's a very great topic.
Self-image is, put quite simply, and not to overdo it too much, how you see yourself.
Yeah.
When you look in the mirror, what are the messages that you tell yourself?
Yeah.
When you are by yourself, how do you feel about yourself? So self-image is very much, how do I feel about the way that I look? How do I feel about myself?
Yeah.
Not just when I'm with other people, but alone.
Yeah.
When I'm actually in the thick of my own thoughts. What are the words that I use to describe myself?
I love that.
Put simply.
I love that. I love that because when I was thinking about it this week, I came across this article by the Cleveland Clinic.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave the link in the description box.
Yes, okay. You know,
but
the English
they use this term called an internal dictionary. And I really, when I saw it, I was like, that's exactly what it is. Because we have these words, we tell ourselves ugly, invaluable, fat, too dark, too skinny.
Yep.
All this language that we have, whether it's been told to us, that's where we learned it from, or scrolling through social media or looking at the responses of, you know, unrequited lovers. All of that becomes a catalogue of words we use to then describe ourselves and view ourselves. And I think that internal dictionary, it really does go to say, self-image really affects your language and it affects the way you navigate through the world.
100.
It affects your internal monologue. And I think it can be sometimes a defense mechanism.
Yep.
I will tell myself these things so that when someone else says it, it doesn't hurt. Or I will tell myself these things so that I don't give anyone else the so I don't give anyone else the power to reveal it to me.
Yeah.
I already know it.
Yeah.
I've already kicked myself. So when you kick me, I don't feel it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that that's one thing that having a negative self-image actually does to you. And I wanted to talk about, where does that negative self-image come from?
Oh, what a fantastic question, because there's so many places that it comes from, really.
List them all.
So it comes from our childhood. The words that you hear your parents say to you is very, very important. And I am by no means a parent, but I am a nerd. And
I love that. I am a nerd.
I am indeed a nerd. I do a lot of reading and a lot of researching into things that are random, but altogether very interesting and useful. And in kind of like early childhood, the words that we use and the words that we say to our kids are very, very important, especially in their formative years, because these are the words that they begin to associate with things, feelings, emotions. As they're going through that cognitive development, they start to associate certain things with other things, right? So if you're constantly hearing from, you know, your mother, your father, whoever's caregiving, right? You're worthless, you're invaluable. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the words itself, but it can be transmitted through other words. Yeah. So if they are saying something to you if they are saying something directly to you, the meaning is that you're worthless, you're invaluable, or all that kind of jazz. So it could be, I can't play with you, or I don't have time to give you because I'm doing something more important. To you, all of a sudden, formative years, I'm not somebody worth spending time on.
I'm not important.
So it definitely comes, a lot of it stems from childhood.
Yes.
A lot of it. And you know what? The parent doesn't actually have to be there. So we spoke about this again in our episode on daddy issues, where sometimes internal monologue arises as a result of the negative experiences we've had from parents who may or may not have been there. Yeah. So the fact that, you know, your father dipped when you were 2, negative self-talk is now, I am invaluable, which is why he left. So childhood is definitely a big part. And then obviously environment and community. If you're somebody that may have been bullied as a kid, you're definitely going to hear, you know, taunts, you're going to hear teases, and you start to internalize that. If you are somebody that has been teased as a kid, I remember when I was a kid growing up, I was chubby and I used to get it all the time from aunties, from folks I didn't even know. I got it from people who were professed friends. All of this, you're not desirable, people don't like you, you're fat. These are nobody will want you, you're invaluable, all that jazz. That's where that starts to build up in our internal dictionary. We start to associate our image with that. And then, of course, another layer is society at large. And then we'll talk about social media, because society at large can be funneled through social media. But society at large, what are the key messages that society tells us in a lot of like capitalist countries? I mean, a lot of communist countries too, to be honest, and other places, but mostly in capitalist countries. There is profit in insecurity. There is profit in all of these messages. When we see runway models that are sickly thin, or where we constantly see these images and advertisements of people that are not us, that are being celebrated, again, that's more vocabulary in that internal dictionary. When we are constantly bombarded with our like supposed necessities and needs, and you know, things like Botox and plastic surgery, and things like materialistic goods like dresses to enhance your features, like even things like shapewear and all that jazz. These are all intended to enhance a sense of insecurity, and this then adds to that internal dictionary. Ooh. And then lastly, we're going to deal with social media, because that one is also a big one. It's funny because in our faith, this is actually biblical. The whole idea of a vessel that can be used for good can also be used for very bad things. Social media is one of those things, in as much as it has connected us, and you can, you know, chat to your auntie from Paraguay at all times. That's fantastic. So specific. You know?
But yeah.
You can do all of that amazing stuff. But we were never meant to have access to this many people's thoughts at the same time. And a lot of these people who have no bearing or no understanding of who we are, dictating to us what is desirable, what is worth, what is valuable, what is cool. All of these things are sending messages to our brain, letting us know and reinforcing a lot of these things that have been building since childhood. So it's why are people surprised that people have mental health conditions? Yeah. Why are people surprised that people are, you know, facing depression in
body dysmorphia
at rates that are absolutely like skyrocketing? Yeah. It's not a surprise, because all of these things have been building since childhood. They reach a peak when we hit our teens. And then when we get onto social media is literally the final boss that we need to meet at the end of the game.
Amplify it all.
And that's the nail in the coffin. Yeah. To the point where it's actually become revolutionary to be positive. The fact that we're even having this discussion is revolutionary.
To have positive self-image is such a radical thing right now. And it's often dismissed as pompous, arrogant, all of that. When you were talking, first of all, that was excellent. Because that is everything. That you really covered everything.
Boy.
And as you were talking, two or three things came to mind. Recently, I was talking to my sister and I was like, you know, I just want to get a big bum, you know? And she was like, you already have a big bum. And I'm like, yeah, but I want a big bum. She's like, I'm so confused what's going on here. And then she was like, oh, and I was like, you know, I think I have a bit of body dysmorphia. And she was like, I don't think there's anyone who doesn't right now. I was like, whoa, come on, fountain of wisdom.
Come on.
She was like, I don't think any of us, I think it's hard for anyone to actually not develop body dysmorphia at this time that we're living in, especially young people. And I actually include men in this. Social media holds up an image, a projected image towards you. You're scrolling and you're consuming videos, pictures, billboards, literally everything that was up there, like you're saying, catalogs and all of that. It's now Instagram, basically.
Yep.
It holds up this image and you see your reflection and you say, it doesn't fit that. It doesn't fit it, right? So now your self-image becomes something that needs to be fixed. You as a person need to be fixed.
Crazy, isn't it?
You need to, like you mentioned, all these, right? Surgery, unhealthy workout and fitness plans, and unhealthy nutrition views, and shapewear and all of these stuff. Not to say these things are bad. What we're saying is, if you view them through the lens of, I have to use this to fix me so I can become acceptable.
Yep.
So I can become perfect. You're already in a place of easily just being damaged.
Yep.
I think the other thing that came to mind is this idea that for us, and I love that you brought up from our perspective, like with faith, our image, it's something you can't really conjure up out of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the main things we're kind of emphasizing in talking about even the dilemma. This is what my parents said. This is what's happening through social media. This is what the beauty standards is in my culture. Self-image, the first point is actually what exists externally from you. Right? What are you being told to fit into?
Yeah.
And what are you being told is actually good? Or what are you being told about who you are? Right? Mm-hmm. I cannot talk to you about developing a positive self-image without first saying, I think for both of us, it started from a place of, I can't actually find my worth or my definitions outside of God. I can't, for me, growing up, having issues with my dark skin, having issues with my size, having issues with mental health, all of it, I had to actually say, you know what, I need what I would consider an objective truth about who I am that will not change. Because I think another thing that causes self-image issues is the fact that that image you're constantly having to compare yourself to and shape yourself towards is constantly changing. Like we said, insecurity is profitable. So as soon as you attain that goal, as soon as you attain that image of perfection, it then changes in order to cause you to go through that cycle again. The goalpost is moved. There is a new thing to attain. The waist is always getting smaller. Or now the bums have to get bigger. Then they have to get smaller. You've invested in all of it on this complete process of glowing up, and now you got to do it all over again because you now need to be conformed to a new image. And I think for us as Christians, from a biblical point of view, we had to say, you know what? I want to be conformed to God's image of me. And that's it, because that's always not changing. Like, that's never changing. And I think that is one of the biggest, that has been one of the greatest attacks on self-image. The fact that that goalpost is constantly being moved.
Constantly changing.
It's constantly changing. You're therefore never enough. And you always need to be fixed. Right? Instead of realizing, actually because it's so easy to look with your physical eyes and say, but I'm different from you. Me and you sitting here right now, different, right? We look different. We are different. How can I, from a human, objective, logical point of view, say you're beautiful and I'm beautiful equally, yet we're so different? To our human minds, it's a very illogical thing. Do you get what I mean? It doesn't make sense. And yet we can still compute that a kilogram of apples and a kilogram of oranges are going to look very different, and yet they are of the same value. Do you get what I mean? And they are of the same
You better come through with the metaphors and similes.
But that's what I'm saying. It's actually appreciating difference doesn't mean it cannot be equal and balanced. Being different doesn't make you less than. And that your beauty is going to take a different form. And you actually need to lean into that and accept that that is who you are. That is how you have been made. Does that negate the need for progress? Absolutely not. Does that take away your need to improve in certain areas? Absolutely not. But what we're saying is investigate where those, investigate how you became dissatisfied with that thing.
That's good.
Do you get what I mean? Investigate, why are you upset with your weight? Where did that come from? Not because losing weight is bad, because it's very healthy if obviously you're obese, but where did it come from? These girls were out here drinking amphetamine and eating and in a desire to get thick with 2 C's. Where did that come from? Because the drive for it wasn't health, and it didn't come from an idea of I am already enough. It came from an idea of I'm not enough.
You better come.
I am not enough. And now there's this internal pressure and worry and anxiety and fear. And for us, you can't move and let fear, insecurity, anxiety, worry be your motivating factor to do anything. We always tell you, do not get in a relationship out of fear. Do not leave your relationship out. Leave your relationship out of fear. Do not find a relationship out of fear. Do not step into a job because you're scared. It's a bad leader. It's a bad motivating factor. Being scared, being anxious, being worried. We need to overcome having a scarcity mentality. All of these things will have you doing things from a really bad motive. And then you wonder why you're constantly scared. Even as you have attained your goals, there is no place of security for you.
You're still feeling unfulfilled.
You're afraid. You are afraid. You're so afraid you're afraid.
Courtney, please.
But that's what you said. And I'm totally backing it. You're so afraid you're afraid.
No, I definitely hear that. I think I was even thinking in my mind, like, even this whole idea of attaining perfection, right? the pressure that comes when the goalposts move, but also the pressure that comes when the goalposts don't. Because most of us assume that our progress is going to be linear and we're going to get to the top and then that's it. But what happens when you're not the fit 25-year-old anymore? What happens when you are 30 and you've had your first kid and all of a sudden there's that pressure to snap back? For who? For why?
Yeah.
What happens when you hit 40s or 50s and menopause starts? What then? You're not conforming to this whole image of being the fit 25-year-old with the BBL. What are you going to do then? What happens when you get old? You're in your 60s, 70s now, and your skin is not as smooth as it was when you're 25.
Yeah.
When you have this very narrow and very, very specific idea of what perfection looks like that actually works against you, you will never be happy because you will have reached it. And the worst thing is when you get to your peak, all you'll be saying when you get older is, I'm just trying to get back to my peak. You're still trying to return to who you were when you were 25
back to when I was 25.
And you're 60.
Instead of you to make this year your peak.
And it makes me think of that thing that you shared on Instagram that absolutely killed me.
What?
Where you have these 40, 50-year-old men that are going for young girls.
Yeah.
Instead of you to look for somebody that can identify the signs of a stroke.
Jackie, I know. yeah. It's like,
Instead
if
of
you're 35, you need to start looking for these young men. You need to look for someone who can spot the signs of a stroke. I said, your needs have changed.
Your needs have changed. This whole idea of perfection,
you are what
peaking,
they call vulnerable.
Stop it. Things like that. And even the fact that many of us don't actually ever really hit perfection.
Yeah.
The fact that many of us actually edit our photos. I've seen you guys. I've seen it. Because some of y'all will look one way on social media, but when I see you in person.
And now you don't want to go anywhere.
Who there?
Because then people are going to see who you really are.
Who is that? Or you have worn, like, I hear the whole argument of like, do you wear, and that's the thing, right? A lot of us will mask all of these insecurities and mask all of these actions that we're taking to actively transform our bodies under the guise of, I'm doing it for myself.
Right.
Under the guise of, who are you to tell me how I express myself? You can express yourself however you like. But when it gets to the point where you yourself know that you're dependent on this transformation, you're dependent on these external tools, then it becomes a problem.
Right.
So the folks that are out here that are genuinely doing up and wearing transformative makeup, but you feel uncomfortable going to sleep next to somebody in a bare face, we need to talk about that. Those of you that are face tuning your body to decrease the waist and increase, but in real life, you're shaped more like a rectangular box.
Yeah.
We need to talk about that.
Yeah.
The folks that are out here, doing the absolute most when it comes to like what you're wearing and all of that jazz, but you would actually, hell would freeze over if you allowed someone to see you as you are.
Yeah.
We need to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because these are not coming from places of artistic expression. This is coming from a place of deep-seated insecurities that you have masked under the guise of expression. You tell yourself in order to, because the thing is, right, I'm not going to be with you in the nighttime when these thoughts are coming to you.
Biggest man thing. I'm
not going to be there. And our defense mechanism is to hide our insecurities under expression. We're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to do the amount of people that are refusing to actually do the work because they think it's a form of self-expression. We finna call you out. I'm sorry, it hurts.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that I think about or that I was doing as, this is a form of self-expression. Actually, this is a deep-seated insecurity.
Yeah, 100%.
This is a deep-seated insecurity.
And you can see it because even if you take that analogy of artists, right? I'm doing this because it is an expression of my creativity. Therefore, I have created this art.
Yeah.
But in the moments when they are not creating the art or they are not standing next to their paintings, they are still artists. It cannot be taken away from them.
That's the thing.
That is who they are.
That's the thing.
So for a lot of us, a lot of these things have become symbols of worth, not expressions. They are the symbol of the worth. Don't look at me, look at my makeup. Don't look at me, look at my breasts. Don't look at me, like my actual heart, my character, what I have to say, my personality. Look at my hips. Don't look at me, look at the symbol. And then infer from the symbol my value and my worth. That's a problem.
If there's anything in your life right now that you're using as a crutch, that means there is a weakness there that you need to address, because people only use crutches when there's a place of weakness.
And that's what I was about to say. And if you don't know what your crutch is, stop doing something and see if you can walk. Stop doing something and see if you can survive.
This is it. This is it. Because, boy, the amount of people that are using crutches, because we've normalized using crutches, people don't even identify them as crutches.
Yeah, it's not, we've glamorized.
In fact, we've glamorized them. Even thinking about things like, working out and, eating healthy. I definitely used that as a crutch, because I was kind of like, as long as I am, a particular weight, or because I want to be perceived as someone that works out, I'm going to go there all the time. But there were moments in my life where it was actually physically impossible for me to go out and work out.
Yeah.
Or there's moments in my life where I'm just like, I actually shouldn't go, because it's going to be detrimental to my health. And the fact that it took those moments for me to stop doing what I was doing, that was a crutch to me. And like, even speaking, I've spoken about like fitness influencer culture before, because I genuinely think, especially for women, because weight is such a touchy subject for women, that's a place of insecurity that a lot of organizations, a lot of communities, a lot of individuals exploit, right? That's why the sisters are out here still, choking on the apple cider vinegar and hoping for weight loss that they can maintain, but they won't, because it's not feasible. Goody, don't look at me like that, because it's true.
You've never lied.
We're still doing up juicing and detoxing and all of that kind of jazz, but we're not promoting healthy, sustainable, long-term weight loss or weight maintenance or even weight gain, because
we're not promoting health. We're promoting skinniness.
This is it. We're literally promoting very, very specific bodies. Even the fact that you touched on the fact that it feels as though everyone has body dysmorphia. It really does.
It really does.
The amount of my own like female friends that I'll talk to, I make it such a priority to tell my female friends when I think they look beautiful. Yeah. I make it such a priority, because the amount of times I've talked to friends who are like, I don't like the way I look in my dress because of my fupa, or my bum is not big enough, or my breasts aren't poking and stuff like that. If you don't address and affirm, that negative self-talk will lead to a negative self-image, and that will lead to something very drastic occurring. For some people, it will manifest in, I'm going to go and get plastic surgery done, or a very, very like invasive procedure. For others, it will manifest in depression, and others still, it will manifest in suicide. This is why it's so important to talk about self-image, because that is the precursor to literally everything we do in life. How you see yourself is manifesting what happens to you in your life. And for many people, many people, especially the sisters who are dealing with mental health conditions, who are dealing with things like anxiety and depression and fear of rejection, negative self-image is literally the precursor to that.
At the root of it. At the root of it.
Boy.
I love that. I guess in this conversation about self-image, I think a lot of people have been trying to take their time to really appreciate what they have and who they are by romanticizing their life. That term is going around. Romanticize your life. Channel some serious main character energy.
We'd love to see it.
But what does that really mean? And how can the girls, the sisters, embody it?
Cool. I love the whole idea of like main character, because the importance of main character energy is to center yourself as a active agent in your life. It gives you the agency to make changes over things you thought could not be changed. So thinking that, I can't change the way that I speak to myself. Actually, no, you can do that. I can't change, the amount of money I make. Actually, I can. I can't change the kinds of people that are attracted to me, or like I can't be in healthy, loving, stable relationships. Actually, I can. And to me, romanticizing my life, even the whole term is really cute. Romanticizing my life is affording my life a level of value, thinking that my life is actually interesting. I'm an interesting person. This is it. I have a story, I have a narrative, I'm of value. I do things for me, I'm pretty cool. You could make a documentary about my life. That's 100%. What it makes me think of. And it means that you actively deal with things as they crop up, because you know that you're responsible for how this story moves. You have to deal with it. So if you want to go for the thing, if you are the main character, you'll make it happen. If you're the protagonist of this novel, everything centers around you.
100%.
That means you need to make moves.
Everything.
You can't wait for somebody else to do something for you. It means you take responsibility. You take responsibility over the things that happen in your life.
This is it.
And the way that you respond to them.
Come on.
And it's important that you do that. And you take accountability too.
Yes.
You take accountability for your choices, the decisions that you make, the people you allow into your life. And then most importantly, your self-image.
Yeah.
So when you are channeling that main character energy, when you are thinking of yourself as the protagonist, it means it gives you back that sense of power that you thought you lost to everything else around you.
Ooh.
To your community, to your societies, to your parents, and to trauma. It means you're reclaiming your power to decide what happens to you in your life. That's how I conceive of it. And in terms of how to do it, and what that actually looks like. First of all, you need to we say this all the time, but the internal work is the most important. How many times we put ourselves, first of all, many of us are actually afraid to be alone.
Yeah.
We conflate loneliness with being alone.
Yeah.
Loneliness is bad, being alone is not.
Yeah.
We don't spend enough time with ourselves. Some of us don't even know ourselves. One thing that I really like to do with Courtney and my friends is I ask a lot of like random questions to get them like, genuinely out of interest. I'll be like, oh, what's your favorite food?
Yeah.
Or like, what do you like to do when, on your free time?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. If you don't have answers to that, you need to do work, because how can you be a main character if you don't even know what the main character is like? So you need to actually do work to understand what type of main character you want to be.
Yeah.
Who are you currently? Are you a supporting actress in your own life? Are you allowing other people and other things to dictate what you do? Have you put yourself first when it comes to decision making? Especially those of you that are in relationships or friendships and stuff. Do you have resentment that you have to deal with because you've allowed people to transgress boundaries you never set?
That's
boundary setting is even a good one too. If you want to be a main character, you've got to set boundaries. What is of value to you that requires boundaries? Your time. Your time is a big one. Your presence. Your presence is a big one. Your general environment is a big one. What are you allowing into those spaces and when? And have you given yourself boundaries such that you can enjoy all of those things alone?
Yes.
So before you start thinking, how can I allocate my time and, how can I do all of these things with other people? If you haven't learned to do any of those things for or with yourself, you can never be a main character. You will be supporting at best.
Yes.
You may even be one of those runners that run on stage and come back out, or part of the assembly, the part of the backing track, all of that kind of jazz. So it's really, really important to actually just sit down with yourself, figure out who you are, what are your likes, your interests, all of that kind of stuff. Schedule in time, not just in a year or in a week, but daily. Have the daily practice of channeling the main character energy. So it might be something as small as, I like a cup of coffee in the morning and I like it with, honey or something like that. I'm going to schedule in time to actually enjoy my coffee because I like it.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to, go on that walk, that daily walk, because I like walking and I need time to organize my thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm going to write down an affirmation that I'm going to say to myself on a daily basis because why? I deserve it. And someone needs to say something to me. And oftentimes I wait for somebody else to say something to me when I can say it to myself.
Facts.
So be very intentional about showing yourself love, showing up for yourself, getting to know yourself, and then acting from a place of agency when it comes to the decisions in your life. I have rambled on.
No, you haven't, because everything you said, absolutely perfect. I think that's the essence of romanticizing your life and really channeling main character energy. I think I came across the phrase when I was in therapy, and my therapist was like, after you do your long ramblings in therapy, she was like, oh, you just sound like you're not even the main character in your own life. You are not even the main character's best friend. You are the main character's best friend's neighbor.
Oh, stop it.
You are that inactive in making the show about you. And when I think about romanticizing your life, and like we were saying, having positive self-image, it really comes down to having the audacity, the confidence, and the pure goal to say, I'm going to take center stage here, right? Life is not happening to me. I am not here simply to assist other people become who they are meant to be.
Yeah.
I'm actually here with thoughts, feelings, and needs, which I love why you when you emphasize being alone, which I am actually going to satisfy, right? I'm not going to wait for anybody else to satisfy them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to wait for somebody to affirm me. I'm going to make my life feel important in everything that I do towards myself, because it's easy to wait for moments of joy.
Yeah.
It's easy to wait for moments of happiness.
Yeah.
It's easy to wait for them to come, and living literally for moments rather than making every moment the moment.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to, like you said, making that cup of coffee. This is my moment. This is my time to show myself that I'm happy, that I am in love with myself. And sometimes we see these things as arrogant. We see them as pompous. We see them as wasteful. Actually, it's really important, because as we step out and as we've illustrated throughout this entire episode, everything else can easily work against that, right? You can then go and have an interaction at work, an interaction with your spouse, an interaction with your family member. You can scroll through your phone and easily have your self-esteem shattered. So if you do not work overtime to actually maintain it, if you do not work overtime to build it up and reinforce it, the chances of it being damaged are actually made easier and easier the more you neglect yourself. And I think that that's one of the biggest things. Main character energy is really saying, I'm not going to neglect myself. And one of the main ways it manifests, because I know we've given quite like aesthetic-y examples. One of the main ways it manifests, and I love what you said about boundaries, is I'm actually going to communicate the fact that I am hurt and I do not deserve to be hurt.
Beautiful. I'm
going to express the fact that you violated me and I do not deserve to be violated.
Beautiful.
You cannot use me as a doormat. And also, I don't like it's saying, I don't like the way you spoke to me. Why? Because I am the writer of this play.
Yep.
And those are not the lines I want fed to me, because I'm the main character.
Right. I know that's right.
And you also have to be willing to receive that, because you're not the main character in someone else's life. They are the main character in their life. And I think as soon as we start holding ourselves to these greater standards of developing our self-esteem, but also standing in the boldness of being able to maintain and guard our boundaries, we start to allow ourselves to actually have better, more functional relationships, because nobody is being used as an extra.
Absolutely.
Do you get what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's creating that thing of, I want to value you, but I also need to be valued. I can't allow you to keep treating me as such, or saying these things to me. Why? Because in my life, if I am not okay, how can I love you well if I do not also demand that you love me well?
I love it.
It needs to be.
I love it.
It needs to be reciprocal.
I love it.
And I think that that's for a lot of us, we have given everything to love people well. We have given everything to be respectful. We've given everything to be the perfect child. We've given everything to be respectable participants of society. And we have, in trying to be respectable, in trying to be dignified, allowed ourselves to be walked over, allowed ourselves to experience things that have gone unchallenged because we've been silenced, or we've been told, this is not your time to speak. You do not have you're not in the main character position. You are literally here as a supporting role. And then we lose the essence of being able to have a voice, of being able to direct the way things are going, even for ourselves. We truly struggle to hold ourselves accountable because you don't really need to show up. People are just going to direct you on what to do, or other people are just going to have to learn to fall into place. And I do think there may actually be a downside to this romanticizing my life. Because if it doesn't come with self-awareness, you're going to be telling other people, learn to live with my dysfunction because I am the main character here. And then you wonder why people don't want to take an active role in your life. It's a play no one wants to be a part of.
Stop it.
No, but for real.
You ain't lied.
Romanticizing your life, but also becoming the main character. I love what you were saying about characterization. It really comes down to you inspecting, who am I? What is the type of main character that I want to be? And the main character that I am, does it allow the people who are in my life to support me to also be their best selves? and to also be dignified in the way that they are supporting me?
Yep.
Or am I requiring people to constantly compromise on their ability to not be violated, on their deservedness to be respected, so that they can accept me for just how I am? You need to be careful. You really need to pay attention to that characterization if you're going to be the main character.
Balance.
All
about balance, because some of us have mastered the main character role, but have not mastered the supporting role.
Yeah.
Some of us have mastered the supporting role, but has not mastered the main character role. Understanding that you are a character in multiple plays is important.
Yeah.
And you won't succeed until you've mastered that fact.
Yeah. And in terms of how you can embody it, I love everything you said. It's really about being bold enough to establish those boundaries, not just with other people, but with yourself. And I think a lot of us have struggled with channeling main character energy because we don't show up for ourselves.
We really don't.
There's that the call to the stage. Where is everyone? And you're not showing up.
Absent.
You know how you want to live. You know the person that you want to be. But when it comes to actually showing up to do the hard internal work and to actually perform, you don't show up. Why? Because it's scary. It can be scary. Telling yourself, tomorrow I'm actually going to wake up early because the woman that I want to be. Someone left an amazing quote under one of our last episodes saying, envision the woman you want to be and start to live like her.
Yeah. Show up, man.
Show up. But the thing is, if you know the woman I want to be, she has to wake up early because she doesn't have time, or she has to fit a lot into her time. And then tomorrow you haven't set an alarm, or every time your alarm rings, you snooze it. You're not showing up. Show up. It's time.
You have missed the roll call.
You've missed the roll call.
You missed it, girl.
Show up for yourself. And the more you don't do that, the more undignified your own vision becomes.
Peak.
Do you get what I mean? And then we go in life expecting money. We go in life expecting partners. And it's like, you haven't showed up. Why are you expecting them to show up?
It's funny because it's often the elementary stuff that's the most difficult to do.
Yeah.
But they're the most important to do.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite quotes in life is, we do these things, it's by JFK actually. We do these things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. In that there are certain things in your life that may present a challenge or a difficulty initially, but they do need to be conquered.
Yeah.
And when they are conquered, you will find that you have the grace to sustain it 100%. Because you actually had the grace to pursue it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And that is great tips on how to produce the life that you actually want.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, sisters, we've come to the end of today's episode.
Although we've come
to
the end of the road, still I can't.
You know the camera's gonna die. That's why I'm trying to do it.
Go for it. Lead us out. Wow. I was about to have my whole musical interlude. Go on.
Maybe in the next episode. But yeah. So we hope that this episode has helped you. Yeah. We hope that it has been filled with nuggets to help you not only develop a positive self-image, but also overcome any negative self-image, words, negative self-talk that you have internalized from trauma, just bad people, bad experiences, or from social media and the way society currently stands. We want to know more about what you have to say, though. On this table, we are definitely not all knowing. We lean into community, and we really want to hear your wisdom, your advice, and your experiences. So definitely comment down below and subscribe here on YouTube. But you can also join the sisterhood over on Instagram by @ing us @ToMySisterhood, and you can come and say hello to us individually @Renee Kapuku and @CD Boating.
And of course, make sure you tweet us. We want to know your thoughts and opinions @ToMySisterhood on Twitter. And of course, make sure you sign up for our weekly mailing list where we'll be dropping some tips on how to overcome negative self-talk. So make sure you get plugged in, www.tomysisters.com. Courtney was far too kind. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Yeah, let's grow the sisterhood, man. We want to see literally like thousands and thousands of you.
Yes, we do.
Growing.
And thank you, actually.
Boy.
I don't think we've actually said.
I know, it's crazy.
Thank you
it's
for the
crazy.
growth.
Yo.
The growth. The last few months have been insane. Not just here on YouTube, but also on the podcast. Like people actually listening, plays, sharing, Instagram. Everyone's been sharing the sisterhood. And it makes me so happy.
Teardrops.
It makes me so happy. And honestly, it is a privilege and an honor to get to serve you guys.
Honestly.
And to do what we love to do, have these conversations, grow our friendship, but also just journey together
100.
And really discover, like, as women, how can we help each other? How can we learn more about ourselves and about each other in community so that we don't have to do life alone? So thank you. And like, you sisters in the comments and here on YouTube, and when the episodes premiere or when you DM us and stuff, thank you. Thank you, sis. We love you.
We love you.
We literally call each other keying, like at comments and just talking about, oh my gosh, that was so wise and what she said. And thank you.
Thank you, guys. And hey, let's continue this journey. We want to impact even more sisters. We want more folks to become the best version of themselves. And we want all of you guys to show up for yourselves. So let's keep that sister loving going. But we will see you in another episode very, very soon. So keep posted, keep listening, and of course, keep glowing and growing.